Hi guys, and welcome back to episode 4 of my 7,000 gold before TBC Classic launches challenge. Now, just before we dive into this, there's a couple of things that I wanted to talk about first. Firstly, if I do sound a little bit off, I am very sorry, but you will have to forgive me. It's quite early in the morning when I'm recording this, because in order to get this video out on schedule, it's actually my birthday today, and I've woken up early so that I can get this video done and made for you all, so you don't have to wait any longer than otherwise you would have done. So I hope you can appreciate the dedication there. Secondly, with regards to that schedule, it is the case that I have changed the cycle of these videos from being every 2 days to every 3. These are a rough guide to begin with, but I thought 3 days is going to work better than 2, because not only does it give me the extra opportunity to do more to fit into the video, so I'm basically not bringing out a video with nothing in it, but also it's going to lead well into looking at the TSM reviews of what is sold, because the built-in preset time frames for reviewing your sales on TSM is 3 days, so it seemed like it was going to be the right way to go. To that end, talk about things that we've discussed previously in videos. In the last episode, we actually discussed the potential of attempting to do jump runs with my rogue. Now, this is what you're seeing on screen here, and I did have some better attempts than what you're going to see in this video, but ultimately, after about 20 or so attempts of failure, I have temporarily given up on this notion. I did attempt many different strategies in order to beat Zevrim, and in truth, I think I'd be able to beat the last boss easier than I'd be able to beat Zevrim. But unfortunately, when I was reviewing this, a lot of people that are doing this as melee are doing it with engineering, so they have the trinket that reflects his sacrifice cast and basically forces him to kill himself, so it makes the fight trivial. But I'm not an engineer, and I don't intend on leveling engineering purely for this fight. So I attempted to kill him using the regular method of LOSing with the pillar, but the problem is I am melee. So while I do have a couple of dots in the forms of my poison and my bleeds that I can put up on the boss, in order to refresh these, I need to allow him to get back into melee range, which then makes line of sight in the inevitable sacrifice basically just going to happen one time or another. He is going to get that cast off, and as soon as he gets sacrifice off, I am dead. I did then attempt to go and get the Barov Peasant Caller trinket, however, so we'll have a look at how that goes. Now, the Barov Peasant Caller trinket was something that came up quite a few times in my research of how to do these jump runs, and it does have some perks. Now, first of all, to get this trinket, you are going to have to go and run the Scholarman's dungeon and then kill a rather tough NPC afterwards outside of the instance. So it's probably easiest to do this either with a guild or with a group of people who are on the same quest as you. But once you've got your hands on the trinket, what it is in essence is a 10-minute cooldown trinket that summons 3 NPCs to fight for you that last for about a minute or until they take a relatively trivial amount of damage. Now, the aim of using this in the jump run was for them to take the sacrifice for me, and it works, but not really. So when I tested this out, the NPCs are targetable by sacrifice, but so are you still. So there's only a 25% chance now, instead of 100%, that you will be targeted by sacrifice, but that still means 1 in 4 attempts, you are going to be the person targeted by sacrifice, which is not ideal. Secondly, it's a 10-minute cooldown, and after the first sacrifice goes off, these NPCs will die. So it basically gets you 1 free sacrifice, and because they only last a minute, it can't be a sacrifice when you mess up. It's got to be one that you've predetermined is going to be the one that you're going to use the Peasant Callers on. So I found the most consistent thing to do was to attempt to use it on pull, pop all my cooldowns, let them tank the first sacrifice, and try and get as much damage out as possible, before then having to go back to the usual strategy. Unfortunately for me, the cast time on my bow makes it not viable to use the bow as a method of killing him at range, and like we discussed before, I'm not able to keep up my dots on him to allow him to die while I'm kiting him around using the pillar LOS, because I have to be in melee to reapply them, and at this gear level, that initial burst with my cooldown simply doesn't get him anywhere near low enough in order to be able to do this successfully, at least not with my skill level as well as my gear level. So for the time being, I have abandoned the idea of doing the jump runs. when I decided to move on from the jump runs, I did decide that I needed more diversification in what I was selling as well. And one of the things that popped up in my research, as well as in the comments from you guys, was that currently doing the herb farming in Scarlet Monastery is incredibly lucrative, as it results in the herbs that are required to make the consumables for Naxxramas raiding. And I thought I'd give it a go, but unfortunately the reason why I hadn't been doing it up to this point was because in my head I thought it was going to be somewhat lucrative but not particularly great, and I didn't have a herbalist, so I didn't think it was going to warrant the amount of time I'd have to put in order to level one. But after doing my research and the comments from you guys, I thought I'd give it a go. I abandoned a profession that I wasn't really using on my warrior, who is also an alchemist, and went and picked up herbalism, leveled that up rather painstakingly, it took a while, and went into Scarlet Monastery. Now, you do get quite a lot of herbs doing this farm, as well as the mobs that I had to kill because I don't have stealth that would engage me when I was picking treasure chests, or just because they're really close to the herb spawns. Did also give quite a good amount of loot. I picked up a couple of low-level blues while doing this, and because I am an alchemist, I was also able to bring some vials along with me and turn the herbs that I got into the shadow oils that go into the greater shadow protection potions. I didn't have the recipe in order to be able to convert these into the shadow protection potions, and it was quite expensive. But when I actually looked at the prices, I realised that it's actually a detriment on my server to do so. So if you are playing along and you are making your gold from doing this, do consider that the shadow oil may be the optimum selling point in the crafting process, because for me at least, it was actually going to be a deficit to then craft them into the protection potions. I'm guessing because people aren't doing their own research, know that that's what they want, think it's cheaper to craft, and just forget that the middle stage of crafting can actually produce the most lucrative results. I did do an awful lot of farming in Scarlet Monastery, and I came away with about 10 shadow oils, nothing too epic, but given the time frame that I had at the time for farming, not too bad at all. And I'm going to be continuing to do this going forward, much like I do with these small radiant shards. Now, while I was farming in Scarlet Monastery, the opportunity to join an Elixir pug turned up, so I did in the hopes of getting a weapon on my warrior that would speed up farming, but alas, I had no luck, unsurprisingly. After the Elixir fail, it was time to go and check my sales on my banking toon, only to realise that I was once again out of small radiant shards, so I had to head over back to Razorfen, and nothing much happened here that was dissimilar to what you've already seen. We went into Razorfen, we had some moderate luck, we went and opened some treasure chests and killed some bosses, disenchanted everything and came away with a large stack of shards. No luck this time with regards to the rares, we got a pretty consistent amount of blue shards and nothing particularly interesting of note dropped, but it did get us restocked on our small radiants. Speaking of going and redoing farms that you've already seen, Tear's Hand, I just can't seem to keep away. And I do love this farm, we've already established that, and I thought it had been really poorly portrayed in my videos so far for how good of a gold farm it actually is, because it is so random in its nature. We have picked up a few green items that have sold for between 5 and 10 gold so far from doing this, but nothing particularly epic, and that was starting to bug me. But I wanted to come back and do this farm anyway because, well, I like it. I happened to accidentally pick up world buffs again, and whenever I pick up world buffs, I don't like to then go and do low-level trivial content, so I'd rather do something that had at least something of a challenge to it in order to get some value out of the buffs. I don't actively seek the world buffs, but obviously I'm in Orgrimmar a lot, as I'm going to do all my gold farming, posting auctions and such, and sometimes I just randomly get them. So I came back to Tear's Hand thinking I will literally just stay for the length of my Warchief's Blessing, and that's going to be that. But in that time, I was able to farm for about 44 minutes, I think it was, something to that effect. And in that time, I actually made quite a lot of consistent gold, just like you've seen every time I've come to Tear's Hand. But I actually got 2 of the relatively large, high-priced items that I was hoping to get to be able to have on the auction house for the length of this challenge, in the hopes that they sold at some point to give us that big boost that we may well need. You do want to pick up your big ticket items relatively early on a challenge like this, simply because obviously a big ticket item is going to take longer to sell in general, so you want to have the longest amount of time with them up for sale to improve your chances of getting those sales. Now, the 2 things that I got were in formula for Enchant Chest Major Mana, which on my realm sells for anywhere between about 70 and 90 gold, as well as a Librum of Veracity, which is about 85 to 90 gold as well. So obviously this was a fantastic run for Tier's Hand, and it's finally given me some vindication in my love for this place. So that is a nice way to end the farming for the week. So let's go and have a look at how well we did for the last 3 days of sales to round out week 1 of the challenge. So you join me now on my bank character and we'll take a look at how we've done. And as you can see already from the Titan panel, we're doing great. We've made about 800 gold in about a week, give or take. And that is pretty good. That's going to see us on good pace for making it for our challenge. But this week has been pretty much me playing all day every day, which is not going to be the case for the remainder of the time period that we have before Classic TBC arrives. So I'm going to need to step it up. However, what that Titan panel doesn't account for is all of the value of the items in my bag and on the auction house. So while I've been talking, I'm just quickly showing you what we have in our bag and all of the values popping up on the screen so you can get a rough idea. I'm not going to spend too long on it. But for the most part, it's the same stuff you've been seeing me be selling all of the time so far, apart from this Librum of Veracity, which is currently very cheap, so I've not got mine up at the moment. Which is pretty much the case of everything that you saw in my bag, apart from anything that perhaps is simply just I have already too many on the auction house, so I'm not posting any more. But then if we have a look at the auction house, you can see as well we have 780 gold worth of value in our 71 auctions that we have placed on the auction house, which is absolutely fantastic. Keeping up with everything that you'd expect from the farms that you've seen, and if you've watched the previous episodes, the farms that we've done before. Everything is pretty much just stuff that we've crafted, small radiant shards, a few other enchanting materials, a 6 of portals that we got at Tier's Hand a while back, and we did also get the formula that you'll have already seen earlier on in this video that you see right here. So if we take one quick look at how well we've done over the last few days since the last episode on our ledger for revenue. For the last 3 days. Here we go. So we have made 548 gold since the last episode that you guys have seen, with a total of 877 sales on the auction house, which is absolutely fantastic. Looking down the list, if we actually will sort this by items, we'll see what I've made our big money. We did get a recipe savoury deviant delight. Now, that was actually got when I was simply going to level my mining on my rogue. I was aggroed by a low level mob while attempting to mine a tin node, killed it, and it dropped this for me. Very lucky. After that, you'll see it's a lot of the crafted items that we've made from our tailoring. The 2 very nice greens that we got are completely identical at Tier's Hand, as well as a necklace that we got up at Tier's Hand. Elixir of Mongoose, and then a very consistent gold maker for us, the small radiant shards, which I'm not actually sure. Let's have a look. Have I got any in stock? Yeah, I've got 9 on the auction house still. Probably need to restock them soon. Moving down, a lot of random things, as well as a lot of items that we have from our alchemy that obviously sell generally cheaper because they are consumables but sell in large quantities. And then, very disappointingly, our Twilight Cultists items that, honestly, I'm not going to be doing that farm again. They just simply are not worth it. Beyond that, it's a lot of really low level items that I got while I was leveling up professions. But that's going to about do it for this episode, guys. I do hope that you enjoyed the episode. If you did, consider liking the episode, and it would mean a lot to me, especially given that I am taking the time out of my birthday to record this part for you. So if you appreciate that dedication, maybe consider subscribing to the channel as well. But for now, guys, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Later.